Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm so glad everybody could be here today. It is a beautiful spring day, and I feel so alive with life and everything that life is. So this is Neshama, and we talk about everything that life is and about healing and blessing, everything about the soul, our soul. I often hear people talk things about the body, things about the spirit, but we're talking about the soul. In the scriptures, God says, care for the life of the soul. Not the life of the body, but the life of the soul. And by definition, that is the spirit and body being one. So your unique being is that soul. So today, first of all, we're going to start with our essential oil and just talk about this. And I use the essential oils to kind of prepare the way for what we're going to talk about today. So this essential oil today is the oil of cardamom. And cardamom is an especially potent essential oil, and its most common use is in food. And it's a very expensive spice that you can get. But the Norwegians, and I happen to be Norwegian, the Norwegians originally used it in sweet things like pastries, but it came from the East where they used it more in savory dishes. So in my heritage, it's a sweet spice. Come on in. So anyway, cardamom is a very like I said, a strong spice, and to me it almost has almost the smell of a something that you take for a cough, like that sort of menthol smell almost, and so it is good for the sinuses and the opening of that, and just all of those wonderful things. And so I have 3 of these, and we can print out more at home, but you can just share on the second page. You'll see the cardamom, and we're not gonna talk about all of these uses of cardamom, but here on the second page you'll see that there are listed 10 wonderful uses for cardamom, and it gives also the studies that they've done that show what they can do. So possibly lowering blood pressure, fighting cancer, protect from chronic diseases and inflammation, digestive problems, ulcers, infections, improve breathing and oxygen use, lower blood sugar levels, and lots of other things there. So these are wonderful, good to read and peruse. They'll also be in the comments, so you can download them and print them out. And I also show the website where I got these, so you can do more research on that, because I didn't print all of the information. But this is a pretty good summary of some of the physical benefits and uses of cardamom. And those are interesting, I think, but what I'm going to focus on today is how it affects our soul, basically. So that's why I like to focus on the emotional properties of it. So cardamom is called the oil of objectivity. It helps individuals to regain objectivity, mental sobriety, and self-control. So if we're being subjective, we're reacting to things rather than seeing them for what they really are, and then behaving accordingly. We sometimes see things for just the emotional reaction, and then we react drastically to that. So cardamom helps us to maintain that objectivity. Cardamom is especially helpful for times when one's anger goes to their head, causing them to become hot-headed. In such situations, the individual becomes inebriated with anger, losing control and rational function. So once you go into that place of where you lose control and you become so angry that you can't stop yourself. They call that drunk with anger or inebriated, where you can't control yourself at that point. So cardamom helps you to maintain a balance so you don't go over that line. It's especially beneficial for individuals with a long history of anger or aggression, which often becomes directed outward. It's helpful for those who hyper-focus on their problems, especially their frustrations. Cardamom assists individuals to break down or digest these intense emotions of frustration and anger by redirecting energy to the solar plexus or down here. So it takes the anger out of here and brings it down here and causes you to break it down. Find out what you're actually going through and why, what's really happening and who's responsible. That's the digesting. In this way, cardamom helps individuals to let go of emotional distortions which cause them to objectify other people and see them as inconveniences. So it's like taking your problem and putting it on a person and say, you are the problem, and if you would just change, you know. And so it helps us to stop blaming other people, and it asks us to take personal ownership and responsibility for our feelings. And as we do that, we'll find more peace, calm, and control of ourselves. So cardamom, it's a wonderful, wonderful oil. Also in the comments, I have a link to where you can get this particular one, but you can go online and find whichever brand or whatever you like. But you can also just get it as a spice and put it in your food. And on this website that I also linked in this, it had some recipes and places where you can find more recipes to use cardamom. And I've used it quite a bit, and it adds almost a fruity taste to your food, and that's why the Norwegians used it in their pastries and things. But it's a very, it almost gives your sweetness a bite, but not a hot bite, just a sort of zingy bite. So it makes the sweet things less drab and more exciting, I think. So that's some of the things about cardamom that I love. And love is the operative word here. So whatever we're doing with our soul, let's love it. Whatever you're doing, whether it's taking a class or going to church or doing your chores or getting up in the morning or taking a shower or walking around outside, whatever you're doing, love it. Allow your soul to feel the love that is there. I heard a story this week. It was about a young boy who said, who was walking down the street, and a man saw him, and this little boy was so excited and happy, and he was singing about God, and the old man says to him, "I'll give you $1 if you can tell me where God is." And the little boy turns to the old man and says, "I'll give you $10 if you can tell me where God ain't." And that's the love that we can feel in our whole existence. There is nothing here that doesn't carry the love of God in some aspect, in some level. And there are different levels of it. Even in the trash can, you'll find things that carry the love of God, because it's all coming from God. But there are different lower and higher vibrations of that love. And so, good, better, best, we can be seeking for the best. But even if we're not, we can find it in the lowest. It's everywhere. So you don't need to despair that, well, I don't have the best around me, so I don't have anything. No, it's everywhere all the time. Even in the lowest and worst possible place, you can find the love of God, because it's there. It's actually in you. So, today, now we get to go on to our stone. Okay, so our stone today is a very interesting one, and it's a little bit difficult to pronounce. It's called Lepidolite. Lepidolite. And it's just a very light shade of purple or lavender, and it's kind of flaky. It's like a silica. It's flaky, and it's been used as a supplement because it's high in lithium, and they use it as a supplement for people who struggle with emotional depression and things like that. But just carrying a stone can increase your vibration, because stones have vibration. It's like oh, let's see. Well, like if you were carrying, if you touch an electric fence, that's going to increase your vibration very suddenly and very dramatically. But these are they're very subtle and they're very slow, but they will impact your vibration because they are vibration. And some stones have a super high vibration, others not as high. But when Christ was in the temple, and the children were singing, and the Pharisees asked him to tell the children to stop singing, he said, if you stop singing, the stones themselves would cry out. He was just teaching us that everything has a vibration, and some stones higher than others. And as I was telling my children yesterday, even in the temple, the priests carried a dozen stones on their breastplate as a symbol of each of the houses of Israel. And they also carried the seer stones right there on their chest. And the Urim and Thummim were right there as well. And stones were very important in the temple and with God. So, and we also have Brother Jared who had the smooth stones, and we have lots of other references to stones. But anyway, so the Lepidolite stone is a stone of transition. So in connection with what we're talking about with the cardamom, it's helping us to release and reorganize old behavioral and psychological patterns. So with the cardamom, it was about frustration and anger. So the lepidolite just helps us to transition from having that anger here in our head to bringing it down here and just really digesting it and working through it. So, no?
I looked downstairs, I looked upstairs, I looked in every bag. I don't know, Catherine even helped me.
There must be a reason. Anyway, so it brings a deep emotional healing, soothing and reducing stress and depression. And, that's a tiny little stone. You can get bigger ones and smaller ones. You can put them on a necklace. You can carry it in your pocket. You can use it as a stress stone. But the point is, it's just a subtle aid. So, for instance, if you were reading your scriptures and you were holding that stone and there was something there that resonated with your soul, this would just help you to resonate, as would the oil. See, the oils, right, the oils are just a really super high vibration part of the plant. They're the immune system part of the plant. And they take that and they distill it and they put it in a bottle so we can put it on us and we can feel that vibration. And there are places where you can see they have analyzed the vibration of the different oils and the different stones, and interestingly, those correspond with different parts of our body. So different organs in your body also have those high frequencies. Now you get ill when any part of you goes down into a lower frequency and a lower vibration than what it was designed at. Sort of like a musical instrument that's designed to be tuned to these certain notes. And if one of them gets tuned down, then it feels like the whole guitar is out of tune. So if one organ is out of tune, then it feels like you feel sick. Your whole body feels sick. And so the stones and the oils help they go into the system and they help the system to tune back up to that frequency. And they've also done this with electrical stimulus, putting electrical things on you to help send that vibration. You can also go online and find the solfeggio frequencies that vibrate at those frequencies. But like I said, each organ has a different frequency, and we're not going to go into that today, but that's basically the concept behind the stones and the oils, is that they help to raise our frequency. So today, though, we're going to talk about how we can use our food to help us to raise our vibration, so that every part of our body is functioning at its highest level and its best level. So basically tuning ourselves up. Now, food is something that has been in our society. I would say our perceptions about food have been twisted and broken for many years. And because of things that have happened with food, people have lost sight of how God feels about food and how it can bless us and what it's for even. So I'm going to go to section 59 of the Doctrine of Covenants, where starting in verse 17, he says, "Yea, and the herb and the good things which come of the earth, whether for food or for raiment or for houses or for barns or for orchards or for gardens or for vineyards, yea, all things which come of the earth in the season thereof are made for the benefit and the use of man, both to please the eye and to gladden the heart, for food, for raiment, for taste, for smell, to strengthen the body and enliven the soul." And so what I want to do today is talk about how we can put our food, the food we eat, into this, into the joy we feel, and the enlivening of the soul, and the strengthening of ourselves. And really it boils down to frequency, the vibration of that, because everything is vibration. We are vibration. Light is vibration. We appear solid, but when you get down to the microscopic us, it's vast spaces interrupted by little points of energy. There is no solid mass. The solid is apparent because there are energetic barriers that these things cannot cross or will not cross. But looking at it in a microscope, you see that there is no solid mass. It's all vibration. It's all frequency. It's all a piece of light. And so our food is the same way. So if you look at your food in that way, as different types of vibration, or compare that now to a color palette, a color wheel. So let's say we have all these foods over here and all these colors over here. So if I'm an artist and I'm going to draw a picture, I'm going to look at my color wheel and I'm going to say, okay, well, let's see, what do I want to do today? I want to paint in orange. Whew, that's a lovely orange, and that's so beautiful. But what does the orange need? Well, maybe it needs a green leaf here beside it. Won't that be beautiful? And it makes me smile to see the orange color with the green leaves beside. So now I'm going to go over here to my food palette, and I'm going to pick an orange and its green leaves, and I'm going to smell it. Oh, and it smells so good, and I'm going to squeeze it and get that juice out. Oh, it just going down, it just fills me with the brightness of orange, and I feel it, that vibration. And then maybe I smell the leaves, and they have just this hint of like the outdoors, and it just smells like a forest of orange trees. What a beautiful thought. And I give thanks to God, and I say, thank you, God, for this orange and for this color. Now, let's look at it and say, okay, which part of this is good and which part of this is bad? Is the orange good and the green bad? Or is the green good and the orange bad? Is the orange bad and the leaf good, or is the leaf bad and the orange good?
They both serve their purpose.
They're both good, yes. Okay, so is there anything that God has created that we would call bad? No. So as we let go of the idea of judging our food as good or bad, and simply see it as a color wheel and say, okay, today I choose to color with black and white. Now, am I going to criticize an artist because he chooses black and white today instead of orange and green? No, I'll say, you just chose to color with black and white. That's lovely, that's great, that's your choice. You may do that. The important thing is that we refrain from judging and that we love whatever it is that we've decided to experience. Because eating is about experiencing. We honestly do not need the physical food that we eat. Okay, yeah, people will say that your life comes from eating. But God teaches us that our life comes from Him. Life isn't about food. What did He say in John chapter 4? I have meat to eat that ye know not of. I have meat to eat that ye know not of. And He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the life of your body and your soul. I am the life of the soul, not the food. The food is given to us for our enjoyment. But the life comes from God. So we have decided that food is a good or a bad, and I have to stay with the good and not do the bad. But every once in a while we're like, I just want that bad. And that would be like an artist saying, I just only color with these lovely colors, but I never use that black and brown. They're just black and brown and they're bad. But every once in a while I'll just sneak them in on the side. All the colors are good. All of the foods are good. But He reminds us to use them with judgment, not to excess, nor by extortion. In other words, love. Loving them and using them properly. So extortion would be to take the fruit that God has given you, withhold it from everybody unless they can give you a big fat price for it. There's no love there. A fruit tree is about love. A fruit tree is about abundance. Every year it produces more than enough fruit for whoever has got that tree. And as we partake of everything with gratitude, okay, back to the gospel again. What did He say? When people follow Christ and have the love of God in them and are born again, what happens if they eat any deadly thing?
It will not harm you.
It doesn't hurt them. Even if they eat a deadly poison, it won't harm them. Even when Paul was bit by a snake that was supposed to have killed him, he didn't die. And they're like, he must be God. No, he was just born of the Spirit. When you're born of the Spirit and you care for the life of the soul and you love the soul and you love everything that God has created, then you're just looking for things to experience. And whatever comes, you say, I want to experience that. Now, there may be things you do not want to experience. There are certain poisons I'm not going to take just to say, just to see whether or not I'll die, I'm not going to do that. But I am going to look at the whole color wheel of food, and I'm going to love what is there. And I'm not going to partake with deception and or with fear. So fear is probably the nemesis of food. So have you ever been in a time when you're in turmoil in your life, and then suddenly it's dinner time, and dinner is sitting in front of you, and you just look at it and go, I can't even eat right now. I'm so upset. Yes, that's your body saying, you know what, if you eat that right now, with the toxic poisons that are going through your system from your stress and worry and fear and doubt and hatred and anxiety, which actually create chemicals inside you, and then add that to the food, well then the food will become toxic. Yes. But it's not because of the food, it's because of you. So as we care for the life of the soul, then we see to it that whenever we come to our plate, we are filled with love. So anciently, the people of God always prayed before they ate and after they ate. Before they left the table, they would pray, because that's when the digestion starts, is when you're done putting it in your mouth. The digestion starts, and that's when you really need that love to be in your body and in your soul, so that the digestion is happening with peace and with love and with gratitude. Which is why we are counseled in the church to pray over our food, because it heals us so that the food will be a blessing to us. So we are the ones that can create toxicity in our food. The food itself is neither good nor bad. It goes in, and whatever we are is what the food will become. Which is why I love the idea of teaching the soul how to love whatever comes in. Like Paul with the snake, or with anybody who took any toxic thing, but they had the love of God in them, and so it did not hurt them. So, refraining from fear, refraining from anger, and for our physical activity this week, fasting. Fasting! People underestimate fasting because they don't understand what it is. Okay, so here in John, when he's talking to the woman at the well, and he hasn't had anything to eat that day, and his disciples say, we're going to go get something to eat because we're hungry. You want us to get you something? And he's like, no, I am good. And then when they come back, he tells them, he says that the disciples said, Master, eat. Here, eat. We've got some food for you. And he says, I have meat to eat that ye know not of. Therefore said the disciples one to another, hath any man brought him aught to eat? And Jesus saith unto him, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. So what is our meat? So when you do what your sole purpose is, your soul's job, and in that moment, in any moment, when you live the life of the soul, its purpose. So, okay, what is our purpose in this life? Men are
And they might have joy.
Joy.
Glory to God.
Right, so when you are fulfilling that purpose and bringing joy into your life, that's food. So when we're fasting, Jesus didn't say fasting means not eating. That's an extra thing. In addition to the main part of fasting, God equated fasting with, let me read it to you. He said in the same chapter, just 3 verses before, on this day thou shalt do none other thing, only let thy food be prepared with singleness of heart. Remember, it's about the heart and the soul, that thy fasting may be perfect, or in other words, and notice we're preparing food. Fasting, preparing food. Now, I thought we were like abstaining from food. He's like, prepare your food with singleness of heart, that your fasting may be perfect, or in other words, that your joy may be full. And then he says it again, verily this is fasting and prayer, or in other words, rejoicing in prayer. Has anybody ever taught that fasting is rejoicing? No, and maybe they just haven't read that, I don't know. But that's what God says it is.
What scripture was that now?
59:13.
59.
59:13, yes. So as I pondered about that over and over and over again, and just wondered about fasting, that's when I realized that it was the same as what he's talking about here. So he wasn't eating physical food, but he was being fed. Did you know that they have discovered scientifically that your body has the ability to produce its own carbohydrates? You can literally produce your own food within your body, just like a plant that does photosynthesis.
The glycogen, there you have a.
We produce our own carbohydrates, sugar, whatever. You get sunlight, you get water, or you just get God, your body can produce its own food. How do you think God could survive without eating so long? Well, he wasn't eating on this day, and he said, I have food that you don't know about. My food is to do the will of God, and the will of God is to find joy. So there is nowhere on this planet that you would be unable to do that. If you were blind, deaf, dumb, and sitting in a hole, you could still do it. Because we are surrounded in and out with the love of God. And that has the power to create that food within us. So when we are counseled by our leaders to refrain from eating so that we might take the money from that and feed the poor, that's one thing. But the rejoicing, which is what God teaches us is fasting, that's the part that most people leave out. That's the part that we come to church for. The rejoicing, the sending out our heart vibration of love and gratitude to God for his manifold blessings, and him in return meeting us halfway and saying, I am here for you. I bring you my presence because you have brought me yours. The meaning of the word sacrifice, which is what the atonement of Jesus and the sacrament are all about, that sacrifice, the word sacrifice means to draw near. So I draw near and he draws near. That is sacrifice. That's what it means. And it means also the open heart. So the broken heart, or the sacrifice. So we call sacrifice giving something, giving up something. When God means it as draw near and open your heart. And I will draw near and open my heart, and we will be one. That's what the sacrament meeting is for. So he breaks open his heart right there on the table. And then he gives it to us, and we take it inside ourselves. He draws near, we draw near, and we rejoice together and are whole. One. Whole. Whole is the meaning of perfect. It's also the meaning of health. And that is the purpose of our food, of our sacrament meeting, of the gospel, and of everything, is that our soul might be one with God. So it's really not about food. Yes, we have the word of wisdom where he says he probably is not a good idea to eat strong drinks prepared by men because they're for addiction. You won't die right away, but you'll be addicted and it's going to hurt you. So he warns us of those. Those are low vibrations you probably do not want to partake of because they're going to stain your canvas and make it so you can't paint any other colors on them. That's going to be a problem. But you can do that. He lets you choose. But he warns us that those colors are probably some to avoid. But other than that, he just gives us counsel about loving and enjoying and being one with our food. So, love your food. Love everything that you see. Love everything that you partake of. Everything and everyone that you are around. Love it. Give thanks for it. Embrace it. Rejoice in it. And if it's something you don't want to see again, then let it pass out of your life and go on to something else. Giving thanks and rejoicing always, because we can. So, I love the food that God has given me. Now, in the scriptures, in the Doctrine of Covenants, he teaches us wheat for man, and that bread is the staff of life. Wheat is the staff of life. And in everything that I've studied about the word of wisdom, there's so many things that we could think about. But it's, for me, to teach my children, it became simplified to these very few phrases. Whole grains, fruits and vegetables in season, sparing meat. And then, of course, you keep the commandments and love God. And then he says that in return, he would give us the treasures of heaven. So now I'm going to read you a short little story that I found about those treasures. Many years ago, as the story goes, an elderly woman in Scotland lived in poverty. Her son had moved to America and had not returned to his native land. One day a friend visited the mother and asked, "Does your son ever help you?" "No," she said reluctantly, "but he writes me nice long letters and sends me interesting pictures of famous people." The visitor asked, "May I see those pictures?" When the aged mother took them out of a drawer, the friend was amazed to see that they were all sizable banknotes. She had been needlessly living in poverty. So the woman didn't understand what she was holding in her hand. She had been sent a gift by her son, but she didn't know what it was. God has sent us all the gifts that we see in our world, in our life. Our life itself is that gift. But if we don't recognize it, if we don't give thanks for it, if we don't know what he's given us, then we're just like the woman who said, "Well, that's a nice picture, I'll just keep it in my drawer," and still live in poverty. We needn't live in poverty. God has given us all this food for us to partake of. The food of joy, the food of the colors of the spectrum, the food of glorious food that we can prepare for ourselves and eat with joy, the food of family and friends and life and water and air and plants and animals. There are so many things that can bring us joy as we reach for them and believe in them. And the key to open that door is gratitude. And have we not been counseled thousands of times to take that gratitude? But I would challenge us to take that gratitude to the level of feeling it here. Take it down here. Like, we know how to think about it in our heads. I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that, I'm thankful for this, just like a child. But take that out of your head now, just like the cardamom, taking the anger from here down. Take the gratitude from here and feel it. And don't leave your prayer place until you can feel the gratitude. And it literally fills your soul with joy. That is the food that every soul needs to thrive. That is the soul food that will bring you life. And then you'll look at the food that you see on your plate and say, "That's nice, and it's interesting, it's beautiful, but I don't need it to survive." We're not here to survive. God has our life right in his hand. We're here to find joy. He said, "Go and experience. I've got you." He's that good parent standing over the sandbox saying, "Don't worry, I'm not going to let you die. If you start choking on something, I'll be right there." But what if No, go out and experience the entire sandbox and let it fill you. Experience your food, love your food, whatever it is. Whatever it is. And look for the joy. For me, joy comes most through gratitude and creation. Create what is in you to create. Create something you can love. And one thing that my daughter just taught me this week, she said there was this famous actor. This famous actor who said to his friends, how do you do it? How do you be so successful? And he said, "I make every project I'm working on the most important one and thing in my life. Not his career, not his success, not his ultimate goal that he hopes to achieve, no, but the thing he's doing right now. So whether you're teaching a child to have patience with the things in their life that make them wait, or whether you are looking forward to somebody coming to visit, or whether you are trying to create a piece of art that will bless humanity, or whatever it is that you're doing or creating or being in your life, do it with all your heart and make it the most important thing that you're doing, and love it with everything you have, instead of just saying, well, this is a means to an end, grind it out and get this done so I can get on to the next thing. No, let every one be the most important one, and love it like a child. And that's how children are. When you have a child, you're like, you're the most important thing in my life for the next forever. And that doesn't go away. And that's how we can treat our creative ventures and everything we do, whether it's driving to the store and getting a few groceries, or saying hello to a friend with all your heart. When you do it with all your heart, then you are being fed with the joy of God and the life of God and the food of God that He has to give us. And that is what I have to say today. So, thank you all for coming. I appreciate you all. Good day. Good day.